A warm welcome, everyone, to another episode of Beyond the Battlefield, a podcast about CIMIC and everything that is connected to it. I'm Sonja, your host. And today we're talking with the director of the CCOE, Colonel Jorn Segers. I will hand over to you for a quick introduction before we dive deeper into today's episode.
Yes, thank you very much. Great to be here in my own institute, in our own studio, which is really great. I think this is the seventh episode, right? So, I was very proud to listen to the first 6 of them. And now it's me on the stage. So who is me? I'm Jorn Segers. I have been a director since January this year. I took over command from Colonel Henk Pape. I have a small background in CIMIC. Used to be the CIMIC commander of the Dutch CIMIC battalion. My age is 48. I have a wife, Natalie, and a boy and a daughter, Wester and Fine. And I hope to tell you a lot about my opinion on CIMIC today.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So this episode is not only to talk again about something very specific. We zoom a little bit out and cover more of the broad CIMIC audience again by looking back at the last 6 episodes a little bit, what we have learned, what we've heard, but also to see what your opinion is on the CCOE, on the CIMIC community, what you learned maybe here in the past roughly 8 months that you're now the director of the CCOE.
Oh, 8 months already, yeah.
Yeah, it's going by so fast, right?
Yeah,
I also
it is
remember
actually.
January when you came and I was like, oh, it's crazy how fast time flies by.
Yeah.
So if you look back at the past 8 months of being here, what has surprised you the most about this organization? I guess you heard about it before, you had some insights, but what is it that struck out most? What surprised you the most?
Yeah, well, there were definitely 2 things. The only experience I had with the Institute was being a student here in the High Commander Staff course, which was a great course, but it's only a very small part of our Institute, of course. And I was actually surprised to have the honor to already be the director of the Institute. To be honest, I did have the job on my list somewhere, but I supposed that it would take many, many more years of experience to be the director. So I was very proud and honored that the Dutch Armed Forces elected me to be the new director. But what struck me the most in my first few months was the creativity and the adaptive mindset, the innovation mindset of our people. And it's a great blend of people here, young, old, experienced, less experienced, international. But the way they are able to work together and use the best of both worlds really, really struck me. And it's I learned so many things about how to get your message across, how to educate people, the wargaming we use, how we value the creativity of everybody who's into these projects. It was really it struck me, and I'm extremely proud to be the director of this group of interesting people. And the second thing, which I was really glad to discover, I actually had the feeling that I don't know why it's apparently it was not justable, but I had the feeling I had to transform this institute into an institute which prepares the alliance for war. I thought that would be my job these 3 years, but it was already there. The transition, the institute has made a huge transition in the last 5 years, changing scenarios, changing doctrine, changing courses, all focused on, okay, it's a different time now. We have to prepare for war. We have to prepare our countries for war. What does that mean for the CIMIC officers and NCOs? And what's our role in that? And we will definitely take some more steps in that direction. But I was glad to see that I didn't have to start from scratch, or that we would still be in a stabilization operation phase. It's already there. We are for NATO, the institute who prepares the CIMICers for their role in warfighting. Yeah.
You already touched upon a lot of topics that we will discover further in that's totally fine. I mean, this gives a good baseline for what comes next. Yeah. So the audience already knows what to prepare for. But I actually have a follow-up question, because you said you're struck by how the composition of people is here with the young people, the experienced people, less experienced people, interns that we have, contractors like me, people who have been here for years.
Yeah.
Did you have an environment like this before?
Especially not. I worked in a multinational environment once as I was a military assistant from the commander of the German-Dutch Corps in Münster, which was a great learning experience and a great entrance into NATO, so to say. But no, this blend of people is, I think, extraordinary for a military organization, because we are maybe not that used to contractors. Sometimes we have one intern or maybe two. But definitely not the amount we have here. And this is a funny anecdote, actually. Maybe you don't know, but we always have an office call with interns in our directorate, and often they tell us things. And the deputy director and I, we look at each other, say, "Oh my God, they are so incredibly smart." And after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, they present their findings to us. And again, it happens. We look at each other. So, some people say, I just build an app to help get my message across. You build an app. Yeah, I built an application. How did you do it? Well, I used AI. Then sometimes I feel a bit old. And I know I have to also step up my game. But no, it's this diversity of young and old, and respecting both perspectives, which I think is the great atmosphere here. And that does say something about our adaptivity, but it also says how important it is to be adaptive, as we all know these days. So no, I'm happy.
Yeah, I still remember my office call last year with the former directorate. And it was also super interesting because in the beginning I was also like, I don't know a lot about CIMIC, so what can I contribute? But then in the duration of the internship and the longer you stay and the more you learn from the colleagues, it's like, easy. I can do this as well, and I can bring my experience to the table as well, because that's what CIMIC is about, right?
Exactly.
Having the civilian perspective, the military perspective, old, young, experienced, unexperienced people all in the room to talk about it and to explore together where it can go to.
Yeah.
So that leads me actually to my second question already. So you came here with a CIMIC background already, yes. But is there something that changed your mind about CIMIC while being here, while seeing how the courses were handled, where a lot of different people also come together, also from the civilian side, but also military side? And with everything that is done here with different research projects, different approaches when it comes to wargaming, was there something that challenged your thinking about CIMIC in a different way?
Yes, I think it did. As being a former commander of a CIMIC battalion on the Dutch, from the Dutch Armed Forces, this unit is specialized in bringing PSYOPs and CIMIC, mostly tactical teams, to the operational, to the theater, and as a center of excellence, we are more focused on the operational and the strategical level. And of course, as being a general staff officer, I'm much aware of our planning processes in NATO, but not specifically into the CIMIC part of it. And it's exactly this civil factor integration, which is what we now as a community bring to the table. And that's so complex, and that's so huge. And often we don't even know where to start, because it's everything. Everything around us, which is not military, is part of civil factor integration. And it's becoming, and that I think is very important, it has become much more important, because unfortunately, future war is not a military against a military. It's, if it occurs, it will be society against society. And you need the whole of society to win future wars. So then you have to know, not only from our own society, what you can synchronize, harmonize, cooperate, but you also have to dig into enemies' social systems and structures. And that definitely has made a huge leap in the last few years, and I'm happy to see that we have a lot of expertise here, and also lucky for us, very high level and interesting and smart people come to us to deliver briefings and support our training and education. But this is definitely a part of CIMIC which I did not discover before I came here. Yeah.
And of course, as we are sitting here in the podcast, recording a new episode, talking about previous episodes, and I know that you are one of our listeners. So I wonder if there's also something from the previous episodes that you take with you to maybe bring into the program of work here, or something that also changed or challenged your thinking about CIMIC when we talk about, for example, climate change, what we covered a few months ago, or more deeper into human security, or also the MDO episode that we had last month. Is there something that you take from it that also fosters new thinking or a new way of thinking about CIMIC?
Good question. What I think, maybe this is not completely what you mean, but what I still find difficult is, and I'm bringing now in the perspective on CIMIC. So listening to the podcasts and listening to the people who educate us in our courses. CIMIC is relevant in all operations, all types of operations, everywhere. But it has a very different posture in the different types of operations. And the posture is also very much related to who we work with. But we do have a challenge in helping our commanders and headquarters finding out, explaining them what we bring to the table. And if you worked in CIMIC, work with CIMIC in Afghanistan or Iraq, for example, you have a certain view on what they bring to the table, and that was mostly tactical teams, mostly small projects. Those were often officers with some budget who were mostly left on their own to work together with NGOs and find opportunities. And this is what people still think is CIMIC all about. It's about those tactical capabilities with a bit of money in stabilization operations. And yes, it is still that, but it's so much more.
Yeah.
And that's our challenge at the moment. And I don't want to be fighting that perception every day, because I understand why people have this perception. If this is your last engagement with CIMIC, then this is your bias. And I mean, I have the same. If I think about, for example, air defense. I worked with air defense 10 years ago. Then I still think this is how they operate. But apparently they will operate in a totally different way. So it's normal for people that they have a bias. But it is sometimes frustrating that we have to fight this bias all day, every day. To give you one other example, a few months ago, I saw a list for a conference which I was attending, and I saw one of my Dutch colleagues on the list as well. And so I was actually surprised that he took part in the CIMIC conference. So I gave him a call and saying, "Hey, good to see you over there. And but if you want to know something more about CIMIC before you go, and then come to our institute, and we will help you with some basic doctrinal stuff and to get you into the picture of CIMIC." And he was actually a bit offended. He said, "Why do you think I'm working with CIMIC?" Well, I'm seeing you at the conference, right? And I asked him, "But what is your role?" And he was working on national defense plans. He was working on resilience. He was working with other ministries for whole of society approach. I said, "Well, that's exactly CIMIC."
Yeah.
Am I doing CIMIC? Yes, you are doing CIMIC. So, so a long answer. But coming back to your question, this has. I didn't know upfront that it would take so much energy to explain to people what CIMIC nowadays is all about.
Yeah. Now I understand. Yeah, because those conversations with resilience, whole of society, they're happening everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is kind of doing CIMIC, but it's not really CIMIC for them because it's their daily bread. It's what they do. But for us, it's CIMIC. For us, for our understanding, it's what we do. I currently work, as you know, on a research project comparing some different national approaches to domestic CIMIC or to CIMIC in general. And I had one conversation where they were also like, yeah, we just do it. We don't call it CIMIC, but of course we do it because it's there. Of course, the military has to talk with the civilian partners.
Yeah.
So those conversations, they are there, and I think they will be there, and they are important to have and really
Absolutely.
take the awareness.
Yeah, and if you allow me to elaborate a bit more on this, now you mentioned this, I'm thinking about, when people think about CIMIC, they still think about the tactical CIMIC capabilities. But from a doctrinal perspective, we know CIMIC is a joint function, so it's much more than a capability. It's a way of thinking. It's a function within staff processes, and indeed, it does not take a CIMICer to do CIMIC work. Definitely not. But it, at some point in the recent past, somebody even mentioned, and quite high-ranking somebody, maybe we should get rid of the term CIMIC even, because if apparently people do CIMIC but they don't call themselves CIMICers or actually even offended by it. But okay, luckily we didn't take that road, because that would be also a bit strange, and we should be proud of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to one question that I have when it comes to CIMIC officers, CIMIC skills. If you say everyone is doing CIMIC, or a lot of people are saying that, right? So what is the quality, or what are qualities that a good CIMIC officer should have? And do we actually already train them for what is needed at this moment? And do we maybe have to adapt for what's coming in the next 5 years?
Yeah, good question. And of course, this is very different from nation to nation. I think every nation has its own way of attracting people and selecting people. I know from a Dutch perspective, and I'm actually quite proud of it. Since 6 years, we have our own CIMIC regiment, which is also that's also include public affairs officers and psychological warfare officers. They are together in one corps, and we select up front for this corps. And yes, you have to have a certain set of skills. You have to have a certain profile that is suitable for being a CIMICer. And I know it's not there in every country yet, but I know many countries are very interested to see how the Dutch are doing it, because these people, they will work in most of their careers within CIMIC, so they will build experience, and that's, I think, it is important, because you see in many countries still that somebody is allowed for 1 or 2 positions in CIMIC and then go back to the infantry or artillery, but it is a profession. It's you have to train for it, you have to educate for it, and you have to be the right person for it. So coming back to your question, what skills do you need? I think, not presenting a full psychological profile here, but of course you have to be curious, you have to have an open mind, you have to be sensitive, your communication skills have to be strong, negotiating skills. So some of them are more in your profile, some of them you can learn, but definitely not everybody. You cannot train for everything.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You have to have certain basics in empathy and curiosity, sensitivity, definitely, yeah.
So if I may ask, how do the Dutch people then decide on, or how do they evaluate if a person is capable, in quotation marks, for CIMIC? Because I know that in Germany, for example, there is no such system. So I wonder how the Dutch system works, if there are specific tests that they have to go through, or if it's more like an evaluation on basis of further, I don't know, experiences or missions or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the end, it's there's a distinction between people who, people who after high school want to go to the military academy. In Dutch we call the genes. After your genes, you become a soldier. But it's different how we select those. than, for example, those who want to switch from profession. And we have it's not one size fits all. It's partly we look at your experience, we look at your which studies have you done, we look at your psychological profile. It's we can run you through an assessment center and see what your skill set is, and it's in the end it's assessing the whole package to see if you got what it takes to enter our regiment. And of course, you don't need to be a professor in all those skills, but you should have a basic basic profile which suits a CIMIC officer. Yeah.
Well, when you have the assessment now in the Netherlands and you compare it with, for me it sounds really valuable having these assessments, because yes, everyone can do CIMIC, but maybe not everyone should do CIMIC, because you need those specific qualities that you can, interact with a person and feel the empathy, and you can really talk to that person. So I wonder if this is so important, do we actually select the right people at the moment, or do we just take people because we need to fill the positions? And if so, do you think the qualities that are needed can actually be trained, or is this something that a person just have to bring to the table?
I would invite all armies to make CIMIC a profession. And once it is a profession, and once it is accepted that people can have a career in it, then they will automatically start selecting in a different way. I'm pretty sure. So I cannot value how other countries do it. I only can talk from a Dutch perspective, and I'm actually pretty proud of the way we are doing it, because it's like you said, you can train for stuff, but you cannot train everything, and it's more the hard skills like negotiating, communication capabilities. That's stuff you can train by doing a lot. But if somebody's just not that sensitive for his surroundings or her surroundings, this is something very hard to train.
Yeah.
And to make it more light and more fun, I always noticed when you, for example, with your unit or your section or your group or your desk, whatever, when you go out on a team building night, you have a drink in a bar, and if your colleagues all stand in a circle watching each other, actually almost a bit scared for all those civilians in the bar, then you're not a good CIMICer. You should come into a bar and see, wow, what a nice people are over here, and what's everybody doing? And you should start having talks with strangers, want to know what they are all about, and if you have a good conversation in a few minutes, then maybe you're a good CIMIC officer.
Yeah.
I would happy to have you.
Actually, I met so many people the past couple of years during exercises and courses like this, where exactly this happened, where you went somewhere. And I must admit, I'm a bit shy sometimes when it comes to, strangers and being somewhere in a bar, and you're like, okay, who do I want to talk to? Actually, no one, but okay, you're here now. And I went out with people that were in the bar 2 seconds later. They were sitting at another table, behaving like they were best friends, And I was like, how did this happen? Where did we go there? Yeah. But yeah, these are the CIMICers that we need, I think, because this really breaks the ice between the military world and the civilian world. And it's just fun also watching those people, engaging with other people, and really being open and exchanging ideas and thoughts and whatever. If they talk about the weather or something else, it doesn't matter. They just, have the qualities and the capabilities to just reach out to other people. So it's really fun to see that as well. Yes.
Yeah, and to make it more maybe a bit more serious too. I once said in one of my interviews that I need extrovert people. And one of my own majors actually corrected me. He said, because she felt a bit offended. And she was right. So we cannot ask from every CIMICer to be extrovert. But what they do have to have is a genuine interest in people. And that goes deeper than easy engaging. It goes into what are people believing in? What are they afraid about? What are their concerns? What motivates them on an individual level, but also on a group or society level. And this is what all CIMICers should have in common, that you really want to dig into what moves people. And because eventually it's us trying to influence those people. And CIMIC is then more on the white picture side. But being a PSYOPs officer, for example, you should also be able to do it on the offensive or on the enemy side. So, but then you really have to know 2 or 3 levels deeper how people interact, how people work, what they are sensitive for. That is what you need to know to get to them. And so...
I have a very personal question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but did you see yourself doing CIMIC at the beginning of your military career? Or was this just something that happened to you and now you're just happy that it happened?
Wow, that's also a good question, because what actually happened in my career, I started out as I wanted to be an officer, full stop. And I had I wanted to lead, I wanted to do something for my country, I wanted to help the world, bring democracy and freedom. This was mid-90s, so we really had, I had a strong belief we should use all our instruments of power to be sure that everybody in the world was able to live in a free democracy. This was mid-90s, of course. But I started out because I had a very in high school I did all the beta topics like physics and math. So I ended up in as a maintenance officer, and I had very much fun leading platoons. But when I was asked after my 3 jobs as platoon commander to be more as a logistical officer in headquarters, did not really suit me. But there was nothing on that level. There was no CIMIC or anything of that kind. There were no, and I know there was a CIMIC unit, but in Netherlands, but it was mostly reservists only. So no, I did not have the feeling then that I should do something else. So I shifted from a lot of general positions, mostly planning jobs, J3, J5, multi-year planning, mission planning on the Army Command level. But it was actually my time in 1GNC in the 1st German Netherlands Corps in Münster, where we had the division communication and engagement, which had Stratcom, PSYOPs, CIMIC, information operations, all that kind of specialities in one division, and how they contributed with non-lethal actions to the more conventional units, and how that synchronized each other towards mission success. Yeah, I said this is what I think I want to be a part of. And luckily for me, at exactly that time, the Dutch Armed Forces started to investigate if there would be a opportunity to build a regiment with CIMICers. And yeah, so I said, okay, this must not be a coincidence. This is the time. Yeah, so the fun story is, I wrote, because it did not exist yet, but I did write a letter to the Army commander stating that I want to shift from my branch and I wanted to, in the future, to become a CIMICer. And he said, yeah, you cannot write a request yet because it doesn't exist yet. So no, okay, I understand. So I had it on my shelf, waiting there to be posted the moment the regiment was founded. And the day before the regiment was founded, they called me and said, do you still want to become a communication engagement or CIMIC officer? I said, yeah, definitely. Okay, then tomorrow you're part of the foundation ceremony, because tomorrow we will make you a CIMIC officer. It's okay, thank you very much.
Well, it was destined to be then.
Yeah, and and it's really fun to be part of this new regiment corps. It's we have to build it from scratch, and it's now 6 years old, and so we have now already a generation, 6 years of people from the academy and the military school who are now officially CIMIC or PSYOPs officers. So we are building the capability from bottom up. And it's very nice to be a part of that transition. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah, it's always also interesting to see what happens throughout the years from the beginning till now and then towards the future. And talking about adaptation and looking forward and just taking the future also in account right now, I want to go back a little bit to more the doctrinal part.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we can talk about CIMIC skills and people, I think, the whole episode long, because it's really interesting talking to you about this because of your personal experience, but also because of everything that I learned in the past years. But I think we also should, cover a little bit of more topics for the audience, not to get bored by my interest. So, as you know, last episode, we talked about MDO and very doctrinal ideas, and it was very specific, maybe a bit too specific sometimes, but there's so much going on, and if you work in doctrines, you have to be specific, and we have experts here sitting around and working on the newest developments. So I wonder, where do you see currently the most needed adaptations, and if we are looking only on the most current trends that we see, or if it's something that is actually needed and we don't lose ourselves in going after every trend.
To react on your last phrase, do we need to react on every trend? Yes, we should. And why such a firm answer? If you want to be adaptive, if you want to be innovative, if you want to be ahead of the game, at least you need to be 3 steps ahead of the game. Yes, you need to follow every trend, every concept, every thought. You have to have your sensors wide open to the outside world, see what's happening and see what people are thinking about and writing, because it can only make you smarter. And so it's our job to follow every trend which is there. But if you mean, does every trend lead to a new doctrine or so? No, that's definitely not the case. But you should always have your sensors wide open. But help me with the first part of your question.
The first part was I can't remember.
It was a long question. No, I think you meant. So what do we bring to the table?
Yeah, I think that the changes that we are currently going through when it comes to doctrines and everything that is going on, if we actually go forward and implement everything that is currently happening out there.
Yeah, got it. No, what I think is very important, what's happening at the moment within our institute, and because NATO needs it. So I think maybe if you have been living under a stone, you don't know, but I think every officer in NATO is fully aware of multi-domain operations. And it went in a lot of directions, but I think it's stabilizing now. We are getting a common, collective understanding what multi-domain operations is all about. But there's this one phrase in this slide everybody knows, with a geographical view on multi-domain operations. It's the synchronization with non-military actors. And we always took that phrase for granted, and when we trained our units, or when we trained our headquarters, that was always maybe a bit neglected. Yeah, somebody will take care of that. No, of course, we need non-military actors, we need to synchronize, but now let's go again into our military role. And I think now finally we are understanding that we should not neglect this. We cannot neglect this. It's very dangerous to neglect that part, because more and more, not only ourselves, but even whole society learns, we need everybody in society, private companies, local and national authorities, organizations, individuals. We need everybody to be aware of their role in defending NATO territory, and we need to synchronize with that. And we know that our exercises are not theoretical; they are required to prepare ourselves for the next war. And if we do not exercise and train everything in our concepts, we will lose. So I think what happened in the last few years is that we got more and more uncomfortable that we neglected this part. And this was the spark we needed to take our role in providing doctrine, providing training, providing education in this synchronization with non-military actors. So that definitely has changed over the last few years. Yeah, luckily.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Hopefully, just in time.
Yeah, I mean, what I learned last episode, I would assume yes. So I think we're on a good track with that one.
But allow me.
Yes,
Sonja,
of course.
It's still CIMICers talking about CIMIC stuff. So what we need, what we aim for every day is getting our message across and not having CIMICers explain why CIMIC is so relevant, but we need the commanders, we need the J3s, we need the J5s to fully understand how relevant it is to synchronize with the non-military actors, to do a proper civil factor integration, to task CIMIC units with the right tasks, and then it's accomplished.
Yeah. How do you think it's the best way to actually work on this, to bring the word out to other branches as well? How do you think we can manage to include everyone?
Well, maybe we should do a podcast.
That's a good start. Yes,
that's a good start. And, it's definitely getting your message across these days. There are many platforms, many opportunities, but that doesn't make it more easy. But I am very glad to see within our institute. Yes, I'm looking at you guys. we have a great public affairs section, who are working on social media every day, making attractive posts, making posts which make you think, posts that provoke you to think about what your opinion is, and that is a very strong tool. But real difference will come when CIMICers in NATO headquarters or in national headquarters really show their commanders that their contribution is key, and when commanders know, feel and experience that their contribution was key. And when those commanders go out and say, I all my life I did it like this, but now thanks to my CIMIC unit, CIMIC advisors, CIMIC specialists, we did it in this way, and it brought us success. And then you need other people telling you how good your work is. Yeah,
and I think it even gets more important or more valid now, what you were just saying, because with all the battlefields that actually take place in Allied territory, let it be with the hybrid warfare or what they call the gray zone.
Yeah,
I think it's even more important to listen to the CIMICers and really include them in all the planning processes and everything.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, it's that. I mean, that really has changed. When I entered the military, that in the 90s, the Cold War was over, but more or less our exercises were still built in a more or less Cold War-ish scenario, and we still thought that the battlefield was without civilians, and that as a commander you owned the battle space, and that you were able to do everything you wanted within the boundaries. And we know now this is definitely not the case. So what I think is, and I tell this often to my students, or to our students here in the Hague. I don't say CIMIC was an easy job in stabilization operations. Definitely not, of course, because it was also a very complicated structure. But we in Afghanistan, for example, we could really build stuff up from the ground, and people were always happy to have us supporting them with advice or building small concepts, and everything what you did was okay, because there was very little, and they were happy to receive any support we would provide. operating on NATO soil is operating, as we all know, in functioning territories, with a functioning government, functioning public functions. And we have to find a way in that. And I mean, even finding out who you need for what is already a task in itself, because not every country is built the same way, not every government is built the same way, and it will definitely take already in the shaping operations or in the phase zero, if you want, using a phrase from last week's episode, you need to really invest in your analysis, finding out who do we need for what, how do we achieve it, who do we need to synchronize with. And if you allow me, I know I have a great example from an old exercise, actually. I also use it a lot because it was, for me, one of the most symbolic events which built my mind around CIMIC. We had an exercise, and we had it was a command post exercise, so it was computer simulated, so it was not on the real soil, but we were attacking the enemy with 2 divisions, and we planned to do a no, I must correct me. The enemy attacked us. We were defending with 2 divisions, but we choose the maneuver delaying operations. And for the military listeners, delay operations is actually that you pull back, but you do it in an orchestrated manner where you control time and space, and you eventually defeat the enemy where you want to defeat the enemy. That's the basics of a delay operation. And we were doing a great job, of course. You know, when NATO was it went exactly like we planned it. We took the enemy towards those areas where we wanted him to be. But we were on NATO soil. And the people saw those NATO vehicles or tanks or armored vehicles pulling back. So they said, NATO's losing. We are losing. NATO is losing. They are not capable of defending us because look, they're retreating. No, we were not retreating. We were doing a delay operation. And we're doing it in a terrific way. But they didn't understand, of course. They saw retreating vehicles. So they started panicking, rioting, fleeing, taking over the bridges. So our whole operation collapsed because we weren't able to use the roads anymore. We weren't able to use the bridges anymore. We lost popular support. So all these human factors went wrong, which could have been prevented by a good information campaign or having local authorities within your team, making sure that you were able to use the bridges when you needed to, that your routes were clear. So many aspects, actually. You can think about many more factors. And that's the civil factor analysis is all about. So, yeah.
Yeah, in the end, it comes back to CIMIC again.
It's all CIMIC.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that we have to follow every trend because it's just important. Of course, we then decide, okay, which trend is really, valuable enough to actually put it into a concept or a doctrine or something. But here at the Center of Excellence, there are so many people working on doctrine and developments every day. How do you create an environment, or how do you think it should be done, or the environment should be created for everyone to be really engaged and focused on their task at hand?
First, because we tell them to.
That's easy. No. Yeah, that's military way, right? Giving you an order.
Joke, of course. No. I have a very strong belief in the capabilities and the power of our people, and we, for example, when I just took over the directorate, I noticed people were worried when they offered me their staff work that they would get it back with a red pen with many changes and stuff like that. I said no. I trust you to do the best you can every day when you come into the office or when you go into a course or when you go to a seminar. I expect you to perform the best, and I trust you do so. So don't worry about that. And I also encourage a climate, hopefully, that I rather have you chase a trend or chase an idea, and then later come to the conclusion that it was not good or wrong, or you only learn by doing, and you learn by making mistakes. And I invite everybody to do so, because fortunately for us, we are still in an environment where we can make mistakes. We're not at war yet. So this is a time you need to learn, and you only can learn by sticking your head out, taking initiative, leaning forward, trying, doing, be curious, and if hopefully that is with my intent for the climate in our institute. I hope to provide it to everybody here, that they feel comfortable in being uncomfortable, so to say.
Yeah.
That I think is very very important. And and then the first part of your question, what do we eventually use for our doctrine? I think that's not only up to us alone. That's why it's so nice to see that we are so well connected to the NATO command structure, to the NATO force structure, to the units. We have, of course, we have students here every week from all nations. We have many times we have Ukrainian comrades in our courses, and this is an immediate learning cycle. Having the students from the units and headquarters in, we present them with our ideas. They tell us how they do it. Then we can adapt. And it's this continuous cycle between doctrine, training, operations, which eventually will lead to the right conclusions, what you need for your doctrine.
Yeah. And I think, well, speaking from my experience now this year as well, because last year, still being here as an intern, of course, you bring your ideas in, but they were just, ideas from an intern, which were up to a point they were well received. But now seeing this year that the environment has changed because of, maybe it is the new directorate. I don't know. Or maybe it's also just everything that is going on outside. For example, we have the podcast now. It was also just, try and see if it works or not. So luckily, we're still sitting here and having this episode recorded. But also when it comes to training and education, I hear so many working on new scenarios for the courses, taking in new lectures as well when it comes to the Ukrainian perspective, but also here within my department, in the CIC department, where we work also on new research projects, or with the CIMIC event that started last year, having the second iteration this year, already planning the next one next year. So I think the environment is there to try and just develop and gather new ideas and bring everything forward. So I think, from my perspective, what you want to achieve with the learning environment and the openness it's working. So
and what it's great to see. We have the support. This is a multinational institute, and we have 7 sponsoring nations, and I can only be very glad that we have the support from the 7 nations, because they give us the opportunity to build an institute like this. With the methods we have, the studio we have, the contracts we are allowed to the contracts we are allowed to get in. So luckily for us, we have all this support, because it would not be possible without the support from the countries we have. So
yeah, definitely. Okay, so we were talking now a lot about, the CCOE doctrine, future developments. What is also very important is to talk about assumptions that we have at the moment that we're working on, but maybe they are not fit for the future, or are they fit for the future, and how do we actually see if it works in the future? Do you see any gaps from what we assume at the moment to what could be in the future developments of warfighting, of CIMIC, of NATO development?
Well, this is a great question, which bridges us to our conference in a few
indeed.
weeks. It's our annual Civic Foresight Conference is all about challenging our assumptions, which in the military planning process you should always do. Are my assumptions still valid? Is one of the first questions in every decision-making process. But yeah, your question is actually a really good one. Are there assumptions we did in the past which might not be correct anymore? And well, I hope to learn myself during the conference a lot more on this, but maybe I can elaborate on one thing. I do have the impression that that the war we are preparing for, which hopefully never occurs, but we have to be ready for it, is still based on the thought that we will have military units against military units, okay, in a civil environment with civil factor integration. But we are attacked at the moment every day by hybrid warfare means. And one of the things I'm interested in to learn from our guests in a few weeks, do we also prepare ourselves to conduct hybrid warfare ourselves? And on all levels, strategical, operational, and tactical. And that's a very delicate topic. But being in an environment at this, we should also allow ourselves to debate on delicate issues. Now we can. We have the time and the space to debate. And why is it delicate? Because immediately when you say, could we conduct hybrid warfare, you come to the law of armed conflict. And of course, that is applicable full stop. No doubt about it. No question. Always keep the moral high ground and act according with law of armed conflict. But I do think we should think more about conducting hybrid warfare ourselves. And when we talk about the white picture as it's now used in NATO headquarters, we talk about our civil environment. But the enemy also has a white picture. And that's why it's delicate, because we don't want to attack civilians. But there's a gray zone. And there's space between purely military operations and the white picture of the enemy. And we should explore and investigate and think about how we can use all tools available to bring victory. Because we have to. It's about if the war, which we hope will never occur, is about our values, is about our democracy, is about defending NATO territory. So you should do everything and think about everything we can to win that next war. So that also includes hybrid actions. It's something not for CIMICers alone. Of course not. It's about all units, all headquarters, all levels. And CIMICers should work closely together with PSYOPs, cyber warfare, electromagnetic warfare, because if you synchronize these tools and analysis with the more kinetic part, I truly believe we can overwhelm the enemy because we have extremely good units, extremely good headquarters, extremely smart people, but we should allow ourselves to dig even deeper thinking about future war. Yeah.
I already see a very good discussion coming up at the annual CIMIC Foresight Conference regarding that topic, because it is important and it should be discussed, especially when you have so many different people also in the room from the military, from academia,
Right.
but also from the humanitarian side. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully bringing up that topic as well during the conference for all of us to benefit from it.
Yeah.
But this is also something that we shouldn't that shouldn't be discussed solely in the CIMIC community, in the CIMIC bubble. So I wonder if there's also something that you see outside of the usual CIMIC community, some trends, some developments that you think should be also discussed within our CIMIC bubble, or if everything that we currently discuss is everything that is also discussed in the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to brag every time about the Dutch approach. Of course,
Please continue. We do the same.
I'm a proud Dutch officer serving my armed forces. But I really much like what we are doing. We call it like information maneuver, so which brings all those capabilities more or less together and aligning their efforts. So it's the AGP-10, for example, is a great document which also shows how PSYOPs, public affairs, Stratcom, how they can all CIMIC, how they can all work together to achieve success. And it's also, for example, about bringing lots of reservists in, because they have their feet on the ground in civil society. They have their feet on the ground in companies. They have a network. They have expertise in civil structures. So we also need that analysis very much to build proper plans. So that's maybe what I would like to do even more as a CIMIC community, so to be closer together with exactly those capabilities.
Yeah. Okay, as we are unfortunately coming close to the end of the episode, I have one question before we go into the summary of this episode. So if we are sitting here 5 years from now, or 6 or 7, or how many, doesn't matter. What would be one thing that you hope has changed when it comes to CIMIC, and what would be something that you hope did not change at all?
Well, I'll try to keep it short, which is often very difficult for me. But what I hope that has changed, I hope that we do not have to fight old perceptions anymore, because I want to get past that. And that will help if all of our people, are into the exercises, are into the training, and providing, what they learn here. Mm-hmm. If they can bring it to the stage, and the commanders see that it makes a difference, then we can get past that whole perception discussion, because actually it's getting a bit annoying at some point, because we have more important stuff to do than fighting perceptions internally. So that's, I hope, has changed in 5 years. And what I hope that did not change is, the mentality of our people, the ambition, the motivation, the curiosity. I'm so proud of CIMICers throughout NATO, and the way they conduct their job every day. I hope to see the same people in 5 years. Yeah.
That sounds good. So I have 2 final questions for you before I leave you off to your job again. So one would be, which I ask everyone sitting here, 3 or 4 key takeaways of this episode that you think are super important for everyone to keep in mind. We covered a lot of topics, but what would be something that you think would be valid or super interesting and good to know for our listeners even after this episode?
Yeah. Wow. Normally, I always end my discussions with 3 points. So now I'm actually, I could have known that this question was coming. But yeah, first takeaway. CIMIC is not alone. It's part of it's a joint function. In every headquarters or staff, it should be full part of the planning and conducting of operations. And it's up to us to prove ourselves in those audiences. And we can do that by cooperating with all the other entities in the headquarters and bringing all our professionalism and motivation to the table. We know we can. So that's my call to all CIMICers who are listening. And to all non-CIMICers who are listening, invite us everywhere, because we make a difference. We provide the insights on the civil. We do the civil factor integration. We bring you the analysis of the current battlefield. You need that analysis to achieve victory. So yeah, that's the second. And third is, keep up the good work, everybody, within our institute. I'm extremely grateful to be the director. You make me proud every day. I learn every day from all of you. And that also goes for all of our students who come here in the courses and share their knowledge and share their experience with us. It's delightful every day to work with people.
Mm-hmm. I like the last one because in the end it comes up to everyone you work with, right? The connections you build at work to bring this topic forward, the experiences you get from the students coming in, even they come here to learn from you, but you can also learn from them.
Definitely.
So I really like the last one.
Yeah.
And then the final question.
There's a lot of final questions for you.
Well, I always... No, this is one, it's really the final question.
Yeah.
So our podcast is called Beyond the Battlefield.
Yeah.
What does this mean to you?
Wow. That's a very hard one. Because I was actually, this is really true. When I drove here this morning, and I know, of course, we were doing the recording today, and so Beyond the Battlefield. I was actually thinking about, why do we call it Beyond the Battlefield? Because it's in the studio, because it's about the civil factors. I wanted to ask you, but now you're one step ahead of me. So what was the question again? Do I have a different name for it? Or?
No, it's what do you understand when you hear Beyond the Battlefield? Why, or what do you think could it mean? Well, in regards to this,
I assume it's referring to the fact that we are not on the battlefield yet, and that means that we should put all of our efforts. Now we have opportunity, we have space, we have time, and we need to put our efforts in every day to use that time. We're beyond the battlefield, but our time is now to be ready for it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And with this, I'm done with my questions.
Wow.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here to speak to me, but also, of course, to all the listeners out there. And the episode will be published on Thursday. Oh, well, you already listened to it, so you know it's Thursday. If you're interested in even more, you can always go back to the previous episodes, or for next month, we have a special surprise for you. So stay tuned and turn in again next month. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Beyond Battlefield, produced by the Civil Military Cooperation Center of Excellence and hosted by me, Sonja. The views shared here reflect personal expertise and experience and do not necessarily represent official positions. Thank you for listening and see you next time.